Mill and I just met, and I'm pretty sure she will be the end to my marriage. Hey all, this is going to be a long post but I really appreciate everyone's time to read and comment on this. So basically, my husband is from China turned SG citizen and I'm a Singaporean. We met and work and got married less than a year of dating. We knew each other for a couple of years while working together. My husband left his hometown almost 20 years ago to come to SG to study and work, alone. So when we got together, he was living in a rented room alone and we basically just called his mother once a week or so. We got married during COVID period so we only had an intimate ceremony with about 10 packs, and I didn't get to see my Mill or any of his side of the family. Soon after, I got pregnant with our first child and the COVID-19 restrictions eased up. So he talked about flying his mom over to SG with no return date because he was intending to get apply LTVP for her on the grounds that she's here to take care of her grandson, and he did as planned. That was in year 2021. At first, I was really excited to meet my Mill. I mean, it's just like having another mother and she seemed really friendly over the video calls. But, when she came, one day after my child was born, she was supposed to take care of my confinement and she really didn't do a good job at all. On the first day when she came, my mom, who has a full-time job, guided her on what are the things she can cook for my confinement, and she even bought some fresh meat and kept in the freezer and told both my Mill and my husband. Turns out, they both said they didn't hear it, and for dinner that night, which is the first meal that she was supposed to cook for me, my husband just went down to buy takeaway food back. For Chinese, during confinement, we need to drink hot long and red day tea, and I told my hubby and my Mill, well, she cooks it every day but she just leaves it in a regular Tupperware container that doesn't keep warm, and every time I wanted to drink I had to add some hot water myself. I spoke to my husband about it. I even told him that before my child was born, my mom specifically went to buy a new thermal flask for me for that purpose and he knew it all along. Well, instead of correcting his mom, he went against me and said why bother since I always don't finish the drink also. His mom only cooks the food that my husband likes to eat. Well, understandable. But the most I got from her was just a bowl of soup and sometimes kept the leftover for the next meal along with all the other dishes she cooked for her son. And when I told my husband about this, he said he will speak to his mom, and he even went online to search for a few menus and asked me to choose what I wanted to eat. I did, but the food never changed lol. When I asked him why, he said I see the menu, most of the food you also don't like to eat one ma, and I'm like, but weren't you the one who gave me the choice in the first place? And didn't I already choose the menu? But that's not all, I can take care of myself. The worst nightmare is when my Mill tries to poke her nose into my business and how I take care of my baby. Whenever it was time to feed the baby, she will always ask me if I was going to breastfeed or formula feed. It came to a point where I was really so stressed I closed the door and shifted all my breastfeeding equipment, SND baby formula and milk bottle, into my room so I could get everything done inside. Even so, when I carry the baby out to her to play, she will still question like why she heard the baby crying, etc. Duh, babies cry what? Rolling eyes face. And when I swaddle my baby, she always removed the swaddle and wrap him loosely for his sleep, saying that the baby doesn't like to be swaddled. I told her it's not safe to have the blanket loosely wrapped on him, and also swaddling will make the baby feel safe and not keep getting jump scares. She never listened, and one day, my son started vomiting a lot of milk after each feed. We brought him into the doctors and the PD asked if anyone was sick at home, and we said no. The next thing he asked if the baby is usually swaddled, and I said not really, so he said it could be that the baby's free hands were touching everything and he just put it in his mouth, causing germs and eventually led to stomach flu. My boy was just 2 months old, people. I also paid for my own postnatal massage, and when the lady came, my Mill asked to carry the baby outside cause she said the smell was too strong and not good for the baby. Hello? These people even help to massage newborns as part of the routine, for goodness sake. Anyway, I didn't want to argue with her in front of an outsider, so I let her take my son out of the room. To my extreme shock, when I went out, I saw my son sleeping, wrapped in a thick blanket, with a KNI and this threaded sweater on top of him, windows closed, blinds turned down, no fan, no aircon. I immediately told my husband to bring him back to me, and I asked why didn't he stop his mom, the baby could easily get overheated, and he just told me like his mom just switched off the fan. Excuse me, it's so freaking hot in SG. Ever since then, I cancelled my following sessions because I really couldn't stand her taking care of my son that way. So anyway, she eventually went back after 4 months of hell and we were back to our normal lives. My husband was then offered a job in Japan and he decided to take it up. So we moved to Japan with our then 8-month-old son, and I got pregnant soon after. And my husband suggested to let his mom come to take care of me. I immediately refused. Who knows how much distress she was gonna cause me. When my second son was born and hit 3 months old, We planned a trip back to China and stayed there for 2 weeks. She offered to take care of him while we bring our older son out to play. While we were out, I would ask her from time to time how's the baby and she will always say he's fine. Then one day, I found out that she left the baby alone at home twice on the same day. Once to go down to collect a parcel, and another time to go to the rooftop to hang the bed sheets. When I told my husband about it, he went, "But baby was sleeping, ma." That got me so furious. I told him, "You never let a baby out of your sight, not at all." She later followed us back to Japan to stay for 3 months. I know, lol. And again, started to meddle with small things like what I wear for my kids outdoors, or whether to on the aircon or fan. She's always saying the kids are cold, rolling eyes face. Before I agreed to let her come, I told my husband that I have 2 conditions. 1. Not to speak their native language in front of my son as much as possible cause my son seems to be having trouble speaking with the many languages that he is hearing. 2. Follow my way to care for the kids. He readily agreed but never fulfilled them. I have to send my older son to school of a day and my younger son would be with my mill at home. Each time he naps, he would only nap for 20 minutes max under her care. He also refused to drink milk when she tries to feed. And after some time, I noticed when she makes the milk, it's always half hot water, half room temp. And sometimes when he refuses to drink she would keep the milk warm by placing in a bowl of hot water, but when she picks the bottle up to feed him again, she never tested the temperature of the milk and just fed him directly. I think that kind of traumatized my son and I told her to stop feeding him and that I will take care of him myself. She never believes me when I told him the baby needs to sleep or wants to sleep. Until I got really fed up and I always pat him to sleep by my own. So basically, her being here not only didn't help, but it caused me even more unhappiness, and my husband doesn't see it. He's always siding her. When I try to talk to him about it, he feels that I am prejudiced against his mom. I even tried to speak to her and she felt like she was already following my way, but hell no, man. Anyway, fast forward to today, we have been planning a trip back to SG since a few months back, but the trip keeps getting postponed because of my husband's workload. For the 2 years since we have been in Japan, it has always been like that. I always had to accommodate to his work schedule to go back and is always like, flying off next week and the air tickets are only bought a week before. As a result of this, I often have to make last-minute plans to meet up with my friends or to go for my medical appointment. I have medical review for a minor op that I did for a tumor behind my ear. I needed to keep going back to check if the tumor came back. And I was fine with that. But this time around, for the past few weeks I kept asking him if the dates were confirmed and he's like, "It confirmed." Today, when I finally told him to buy the air tickets, he sprung a surprise on me telling me that he intends to go back to China on one of the weekends that we are back in SG. I was really pissed off because 1. We were only gonna be back for 2 weeks. 2. I only have 1 full weekend with my family cause the second weekend we would be flying back and my family work on weekdays. 3. He freaking didn't mention any of this plan for the last few weeks. And today I learned I told him to buy the air tickets back to SG when I told him he should have discussed with me. He got pissed off at me as though it's my fault for being unreasonable to make such a request. That aside, I'm also kind of dreading to live with my mill, especially since she just went back to China after living with us for 4 months. Rolling eyes face. I'm sorry for the long post. I'm not really sure what's my purpose of this. I guess I mainly wanted to rant and for my feelings to be known.